I'm 34 male, and I'd consider myself an average guy. I've worked hard to build a decent life, a stable job, my own place, and a small circle of people I trust. For the most part, things were good until 3 years ago, when my girlfriend at the time, Eve, vanished. When I say vanished, I mean gone. No note, no text, no call. She blocked me on everything: social media, phone, email. One day, we were planning a weekend trip together, and the next, it was like I didn't exist. At first, I was confused, thinking something terrible had happened. I even called hospitals and her family. But they were tight-lipped, claiming they didn't know where she was. It didn't take long to realize they were covering for her. It was humiliating. I was left with questions I couldn't answer, a relationship that ended without closure, and an ache I carried for months. Eventually, I moved on, or at least I thought I had, until a week ago. I was sitting in my living room after a long day at work, eating takeout and catching up on a show, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Hi, it's C. I need to talk to you. Please." My stomach dropped. 3 years of silence. And she shows up out of the blue with this? My first instinct was to block the number, but curiosity won out. I had to know why. "What do you want?" I replied, keeping it short. Her response came almost instantly. "It's urgent. Can I call you?" Against my better judgment, I said yes. The phone rang seconds later. "Hey," she said, her voice shaky but familiar. "Thanks for picking up." I stayed silent, waiting for her to explain herself. "I know I disappeared, and I'm so sorry for that," she began. "But something's happened, and I didn't know who else to turn to." I let out a bitter laugh. "You're kidding me, right? You ghosted me for 3 years, and now you need something?" "It's not like that," she said quickly. I made some bad choices. I'm in trouble, and I need your help." "Why would I help you?" I shot back. "After what you did to me?" There was a pause, and then she dropped the bombshell. "I have a son. He's yours." For a moment, I couldn't speak. The world around me blurred as her words sank in. "What did you just say?" I finally managed. "He's your son," she repeated, her voice trembling. "He's 2 years old now. I didn't know I was pregnant when I left, and by the time I found out, things got complicated. I thought it was best to stay away, but—" "You thought—" I cut her off, my voice rising. "You thought it was best to hide my child from me? Are you out of your mind?" "I know it sounds bad," she said, trying to sound contrite. "But I have my reasons. I was scared, and I didn't want to drag you into my mess." "What messy?" I demanded. "You owe me the truth. All of it. Right now." She hesitated, and then the story came tumbling out. After leaving me, she'd fallen in with some shady people. One guy in particular. Let's call him M. He was charming, wealthy, and controlling. By the time she realized what she'd gotten into, she was pregnant. She claimed M didn't want anything to do with the baby when he found out it wasn't his, but he didn't let her go either. She'd spent the last 2 years trying to get away from him. Now, she said, she'd finally managed to escape. But she was broke, had nowhere to go, and was terrified M would find her. That's why she'd reached out to me. "I'm begging you," she said, her voice breaking. "Please let me stay with you, just until I figure something out. For our son's sake." I should have hung up. I should have told her to deal with her own mess. But the word son kept ringing in my ears. If she was telling the truth, I had a child out there, a little boy I'd never met. How could I turn my back on that? "Fine," I said finally. "You can stay for a few days. But if I find out you're lying about any of this, you're gone." She promised she wasn't, swearing up and down that she just needed a safe place to land. I gave her my address, and she showed up the next morning with a toddler in tow. The moment I saw him, I knew she wasn't lying. The kid was the spitting image of me. Same eyes, same smile, even the same stubborn tilt to his chin. He settled in quickly, but it didn't take long for her entitled side to resurface. Within a day, she started acting like she owned the place. She rearranged my furniture, complained about the food I had in the fridge, and borrowed my car without asking. "I'm doing this for our son," she'd say whenever I called her out. "You wouldn't want him to suffer, would you?" She used the boy as a shield for everything. Whenever I pushed back, she'd bring him into it, guilting me into backing off. It was infuriating. Then came the dirty tricks. I caught her snooping through my financial documents one evening, claiming she was just curious about my income. Another time, she tried to convince me to sign over my spare bedroom to her permanently, saying it was the least I could do since she was the mother of my child. But the final straw came when I found out she'd been in contact with Em the whole time. It happened by accident. She'd left her phone on the kitchen counter while she was out, and a message popped up from someone labeled Em. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. The text told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't scared of Em. She was working with him. They had some kind of scheme going, and I was the mark. I felt sick. When she came back that evening, I confronted her. "What's this about?" I asked, holding up her phone. Her face went pale. "You went through my phone? Don't try to turn this around on me," I snapped. "Explain yourself. Now." At first, she tried to deny it, but when I showed her the text, she broke down and admitted the truth. She and Em had cooked up a plan to squeeze money out of me. The story about escaping him was a lie. "You're unbelievable," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "You used my kid as a pawn. Do you have any idea what that makes you?" "I didn't have a choice," she said weakly. "We needed the money." "You mean you needed the money?" I shot back. "Don't drag him into this." Her entitlement flared up then. "He's your son. You should be helping us. You owe us." I saw red. "Get out," I said, my voice low and dangerous. She tried to argue, but I wasn't having it. I told her she had 1 hour to pack her things and leave. She refused, so I called the police. When they arrived, I showed them the text and explained the situation. They escorted her out, but not before she screamed at me, calling me every name in the book. I immediately contacted a lawyer and filed for custody of my son. The process was grueling, but I was determined. He tried to fight it, but her lies and manipulations worked against her. The court granted me full custody, citing her instability and history of deceit. As for Em, I reported him for harassment and fraud. It turns out he had a long history of scamming people, and my evidence was the final nail in his coffin. He's now facing several charges, and he isn't far behind him. It's been 6 months since all of this went down, and life has finally started to stabilize. My son and I are getting to know each other, and while it's not always easy, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Looking back, I realize how close I came to falling for E's lies again. But I'm proud of how I handled it. I didn't let her walk all over me, and I made sure she faced the consequences of her actions. If there's one thing I've learned from this, it's that you can't let people take advantage of your kindness. Stand your ground, and don't let anyone guilt you into compromising your values. And hey, if you enjoyed this story of karma and chaos, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Who knows what other wild tales life will throw my way? Stay tuned.